Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast, episode number 196. Can you guys believe that? We're almost at 200 episodes, and I think we're going to make it to the end of 2019 to exactly 200, and that's pretty exciting. So I'm already thinking about what we're going to do for the 200th episode, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have some sort of giveaway. I'm not sure what that's going to be just yet, but I'm already thinking about it and wondering what that's going to be, and hopefully it'll be useful for you guys. I am your host, Roel Dionisio, and unfortunately, our co-host, Francois Vergès, is unable to record here today. He's actually been traveling quite a bit across the pond and over in Europe. He's been doing a lot of Ekahau classes. I think he's been doing the Ekahau design class, and it looks like it's been pretty successful just based on the photos that I've seen online. And so we're many hours apart, and we've just been unable to connect and really get an episode recorded. And so you might have noticed that last week we didn't have an episode, and that's because, again, Francois was traveling, and I was also out of town, also troubleshooting some warehouse Wi-Fi. And so we got those warehouse issues resolved, and I gave them some recommendations, and I think they're going to pull through for these holidays, the holiday seasons, which we're approaching, right? So this is around the time everyone turns into a pumpkin and becomes very lazy. And I'll admit, I've been getting lazy, but I've also been doing a lot of work. And so a lot of it has to do with Wi-Fi. I'm doing a lot of design and troubleshooting, but also getting my hands into some non-Wi-Fi stuff, GPON. And so I've been working on a recent project to do some GPON work, which is bringing fiber to the home. And so it's a lot of people around in my workplace, and they live in the houses nearby. So we're going to be bringing fiber to their locations. And I've been tasked with putting that whole infrastructure together. So that's what I'm working on. And it does go into some Wi-Fi, because the modems that people have in their homes have Wi-Fi capabilities. Now, it's not 11AX just yet, but the 11AC will just work fine. And so let's get into the episode this week, and it's mainly about updating what's been happening around in our industry as it pertains to wireless, right? And funny enough, there's two kinds of awards that are going on for the Wi-Fi industry. The first one is the IT Blog Awards, which is hosted by Cisco. Now, the Clear to Send podcast has actually been nominated under the podcast and video series category, and we're actually finalists for this category. We were finalists last year, but we didn't win the category, but we're really excited to be part of it again, and we want to give a lot of thanks to the community members, the listeners, and everyone who has nominated this podcast under that category. I think it's pretty exciting because twice now we're in this category. And what I'd like to do is have you guys vote for us, because we're actually in good company here with other people. We have the last year's winner of this category, Network Chuck. He's in it again. There's some other new people. We have Tim Crawford, Madrasa Tech, Network Bruh, Mario Salinas, and Ask Anson Channel. And so this is a really good category. Lots of good people here. As I've checked out their blog or video, or even podcasts. I've checked out all their channels. One of them is in a different language, so I'm not really sure what it's about, but they have a lot of good content. There's a lot to see there. And so I encourage you guys, if you guys just have 5 minutes to go to cleartosend.net/vote, that will redirect you to the Cisco IT Blog Awards page, where you can vote for all your favorite favorite people in each of these categories. There's different categories here, and a lot of people that I know are in these categories. So I already placed my vote, and I encourage you to go check it out, because you might also find another blog or podcast or video series that might be very useful for you, right? There's a lot of great content providers out there in the tech space, and we're just one of the few that's under the podcast and video series. So thank you guys so much for nominating us. If you did that, we really appreciate it. It means a lot to us as we continue to publish podcast episodes and as we approach to episode number 200. And so we've been trying to publish every week as much as we can. Now there's some weeks where we don't make it, but we try to provide as much value as we can. We will continue to do so as we plan more episodes for 2020. Now the other awards is the Wi-Fi Awards. I don't know if you guys have heard about that one, but you can head over to thewifiawards.com, and your very own co-host, Francois Verges, has been nominated as a content contributor of the year. And so he's with other really great finalists in this category, with Jake Snyder, Lee Badman, Eddie Ferrero, and Jim Palmer. Now, all those guys are fantastic. I just want to remind you that Francois has provided you guys the MCS table for 11AX. I think that is quite impressive, if I don't say so. But go ahead and vote. Go to thewifiawards.com and vote for Francois. I think he really deserves it in this category. He's also published a lot of other blog posts that have to do with Wi-Fi 6, and also getting some Wi-Fi 6 clients with the Jetson Nano, capturing with it, doing some other things with the Jetson Nano. And I think he's been really providing a lot of good content. And me and him have had discussions about regularly doing some blog posts, and we both know it's pretty difficult to do, especially for Francois, because he's got his own company to maintain, and he has business there. And then he's also doing the training all around the world for Ekahau. So for him to publish as much content as he does, I really appreciate the content that he publishes on his blog, senfionetworks.com. And I think he really deserves this. So if you guys can head over to thewifiawards.com and vote for Francois under the content contribution of the year, that would be fantastic. And I think he would really appreciate you guys doing that. And I know he really enjoys hearing any feedback from the listeners, because he really enjoys publishing these podcast episodes, and I can see all the effort he puts into writing the content that he does. So he's a really committed person when it comes to the Wi-Fi work. I've seen it, and he does it because he loves doing it. And so if there's a problem to be solved and he could solve it, he doesn't mind sharing that with everyone. And so again, thewifiawards.com to go ahead and vote for your favorite person, and hopefully that's going to be Francois. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Wi-Fi Design Day. If you guys haven't heard about Wi-Fi Design Day, that's usually put on by Ekahau and maybe some other partner. This was done, I think, most recently in the UK, and they just put up their recordings. And so I highly recommend you guys head over to wifidesign.com/recordings. And not only will you see this year's recordings, but you'll also see the previous year's recordings. There's a lot of good educational and insightful content there. Some of the two videos that I look forward to seeing and rewatching again and again is Analyzing Roaming Protocols by Peter McKenzie. Now, Peter McKenzie is a top-notch speaker. He's incredibly smart when it comes to analyzing Wi-Fi. He is the guy to go to when it comes to analyzing anything. And I remember at WLPC Prague, he did that trivia. There was a trivia night and a lot of good questions this guy knows everything off the top of his head. You can throw him any question and he'll be able to answer it to the greatest detail, down to maybe the bit number of in a frame, for example. And he's also been contributing to the CWNP, especially the CWAP exam or certification. So Peter McKenzie is a great one to listen to anytime there's some sort of talk or video that's available. The other video that I would be looking most forward to is Andrew McHale's Designing Wi-Fi for Voice. Now, Andrew has had quite a bit of experience when it comes to Wi-Fi and voice applications. And so he's got a lot to talk about, and he's done a lot of optimization. And also, if you haven't seen his recording from WLPC Prague, he also did something similar for Wi-Fi and voice as well. So he's one to listen to if you've got a lot of voice applications in your environment, and maybe it's just not quite tuned for voice. You might want to look at Andrew McHale's recording from Wi-Fi Design Day and any of the other previous content he's done in the past as well. So speaking of Ekahau, I don't know if you guys have heard of the most recent launch that Ekahau did. Now, it wasn't too long ago that Ekahau launched Ekahau Pro Connect and also Ekahau Survey for the iPad. I think that was just earlier this year that they did that. But a couple of days ago, there's now a release for an iPhone. They're now supporting Ekahau Survey on the iPhone itself, which I think is a really great thing to have, because we've gone from using a laptop with USB adapters, and then earlier this year we were able to use an iPad with the Sidekick, which I thought was the best move that I've made when it came to making surveys, because I really did not like carrying my laptop unless you like to have that workout with your arms of carrying a laptop, or maybe you were fortunate to get some sort of stand that you would wear with the laptop. But then you also had the challenge with the battery life of the laptop. So I thought having an iPad and a Sidekick was just pure genius, because you could do a survey relatively quickly and not have to worry about battery life. But now that's even greatly improved with having Ekahau Survey on your iPhone. And all you would do is same as using your iPad, is plug in the Sidekick to your iPhone and be able to walk around with your little handheld device really easily through the floor plan or the building that you're surveying. Now, the biggest difference there is that there's now a new feature that was also released with the iPhone support called Autopilot. And now with Autopilot, your location is actually tracked, and you're no longer going to need to click on the floor plan whenever you make your turns. And this is the next biggest step, because the amount of time and efficiency that's done when you're clicking as you're turning within Ekahau, and while it's not the best, it works, but there's times where I also mess up where I've clicked on the map or tapped on the map, and I've had to go back to redo that survey. And so what this does for us with Autopilot is it allows to just track your motions and your locations on the floor plan. You just have to at least click on where you're starting, and the Autopilot will use the Apple APIs or the iOS SDK and be able to use the accelerometer and the gyroscope in order to know when you're moving and turning. And so that is automatically tracked within the Ekahau application. Now, the only downside with Autopilot and iPhone support, let me backtrack a little bit. When I heard there was iPhone support, I got really excited, because the iPhone is really the closest thing to the least capable device in the environment, right? At first, we're using our laptops, and that's a really powerful radio on, say, a MacBook Pro, versus some of the devices people are using in the environment. And then you got your iPads, which are getting closer, but the iPhone, I think, gets a lot closer to the least capable device. And so hopefully we were able to gather some information off of the iPhone, right? Like the RSSI, maybe some SNR that it was seeing. But unfortunately, Apple doesn't make some of those features available to third parties. And so the information that is gathered is still gathered from the Sidekick perspective. The only data that we'll get from the iPhone will be the associated access point, because the Sidekick cannot associate to an access point. It can't transmit any data. And so really that Sidekick is just collecting information, and then everything else that we don't get, such as association, is going to be from the iPhone or your iPad's perspective. And so we still have a lot more to go there from Apple, but being able to maybe just put this iPhone in your pocket and then be able to walk around on the floor and still gather some survey data, I think that would be a lot more efficient than having to hold up an iPad. Now, I haven't been able to test it yet. When it comes to these new releases, I tend to wait because I don't have a backup device. I don't have a separate device to run the later versions, the latest versions of Ekahau. And because I use my Ekahau Pro so often that I don't want to run into any bugs and have to resurvey some environments. And so I tend to wait, and I will probably test this feature, all these new features out in the upcoming weeks. I'll probably wait to get an idea of how other people are using Ekahau and how stable it is. But I'm really looking forward to using these new features, because I think this is where we become more efficient with surveys, right? And I can actually look up now when I'm doing a survey, instead of keeping my head down and keeping track of where I'm clicking within Ekahau. I can now just walk casually and be able to be safer, right? In my environment. I don't know, some environments you might not want to be looking at your laptop. You might want to be looking at where you're going. And also it'll be hopefully more accurate if the algorithm that Ekahau is using, and also the SDK is pretty accurate with tracking motion and acceleration, then our surveys will be a lot more accurate, right? There's a lot of times where maybe I'm walking and then I have to either step to the left or to the right or go backwards, and it would be nice if Ekahau tracked that, right? It can do it now with this latest version of Ekahau. And so that's what I'm most looking forward to, because now those results are going to be much more accurate, and we could work with that for our reports and be able to track some of these Wi-Fi issues, because we can then also replicate the way people use wireless networks in the environment. And so there it is. I'd like to know, are you guys using the latest version of Ekahau? Are you using it on the iPhone? And what do you think about the accuracy in which Autopilot is working? I mean, there can only be improvements from here on out, but this is the first step. This Autopilot, I think, is going to be a big feature. And so that's the full episode this week. Sorry I couldn't provide you any more information. I've actually been pretty swamped, and I'm now starting to catch up and get ahead to be able to plan the next few episodes to the end of the year, and then also be able to plan more new episodes into the new year, 2020. And so we're going to bring back some technical discussions. We're going to talk about or do some deep dives on some technologies. Going to go into some troubleshooting. We'll talk about opportunistic wireless encryption. We're going to talk about WPA3, more 11AX as some some firmware updates come out and more devices come out, and then we'll go from there. We'll have more interviews as well. So that's your episode. Again, we're finalists under the IT Blog Awards for podcast and video series. If you head over to cleartosend.net/vote, and please vote for us, help us win this category. I think that would be pretty cool. And then also Francois is nominated for Content Contribution of the Year at thewifiawards.com. We talked about the Wi-Fi Design Day videos. Let me know what you think about those videos and which ones was your favorite. And then we have the latest Ekahau update. So that's our episode. If you want to check out the show notes and all the links that I've mentioned, just head over to cleartosend.net/196, and I will see you guys on the next episode.